Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something pretty crucial, e-health security and the role of AI. I know a lot of you are interested in this. It seems like it's constantly in the news these days.
It really is.
And we're really focusing on a research paper here. It's called Security and Privacy in E-Health Systems, a review of AI and machine learning techniques.
Yeah, just came out last month.
So really fresh, really new, and give a pretty in-depth look at how AI is impacting things.
It does. It really does.
Both good and bad, really.
Right. Yeah, the threats, but the solutions too.
Yeah, so hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll be able to go beyond just, the headlines and have a more in-depth understanding.
Absolutely.
So what I really liked is this paper, takes us all the way back to, like, the beginning.
Back to the basics.
Right, like paper records.
Remember those.
I mean, I vaguely remember them right, but misfiled charts and the handwriting and just...
The logistical nightmare.
Nightmare, yeah. And then we started getting those, like, early digital systems.
Right, but those were mainly for administrative stuff.
Yeah, like billing and things like that.
Exactly.
But now, I mean, we're talking a whole different ballgame, right?
And that's a whole ecosystem now.
EHRs, telemedicine, wearables, I mean, all this stuff.
It's incredible how much data is flowing through these systems.
Yeah, and you're telling me 95% of non-federal acute care hospitals in the U.S. have adopted electronic health records by 2024.
By 2024, yeah, it's a staggering amount of sensitive information.
That's a lot to protect.
It is.
And then on top of that, it seems like the threats are constantly changing.
They are. They're evolving so fast.
So it's not just like, back in the day, someone walks out with a laptop.
Right.
Now it's like hacking and ransomware.
Much more sophisticated, and they're really targeting these e-health systems specifically.
Okay, so what does this mean for me? Like, are my medical records really at risk?
Well, I mean, one of the most alarming examples that the paper brings up is the 2021 Universal Health Services attack. Have you heard about that one?
I vaguely remember it. Remind me.
So basically, their whole system was crippled by ransomware.
Oh, wow.
Over 400 hospitals and facilities were impacted.
That's huge.
It was huge. I mean, surgeries were delayed. Ambulances had to be diverted. It was a mess.
And how long did it take them to recover?
Weeks to fully recover. It just shows how vulnerable these systems are.
Yeah.
And how real the impact can be.
Okay, so that's scary.
It is a little scary.
So, I mean, if these attacks are getting so sophisticated, like, what are some of the weak points that they're exploiting?
Well, the paper points to a few. Cloud computing, for one.
Okay.
I mean, it's convenient and flexible, but it's also a big target for hackers.
So, like, what kinds of attacks are we talking about?
Well, phishing is a big one.
Yeah.
So those emails that look totally legit?
Oh, yeah, I get those all the time.
Right, and they try to trick you into giving up your login info.
So they send you to, like, a fake website.
Exactly, and then boom, they've got your info.
I never realized how much damage a phishing attack could actually do.
Oh, it's a huge problem. And then there's keylogging. So they install software that records everything you type.
Like passwords and stuff.
Yep, every keystroke. And then there are brute force attacks where they just keep trying different passwords until one works.
So it sounds like even though we're using all this fancy cloud computing, the basic security stuff is still important.
Absolutely. Strong passwords and being careful about what emails you click on, that's all still critical.
Right.
But it goes beyond just individual accounts. The paper also talks about vulnerabilities within the EHRs themselves.
The system itself.
Yeah, so many of these systems are running on old software, software with known security gaps.
Oh, wow.
And because everything's so interconnected, a breach in one part can quickly spread to others.
Well, it's like a domino effect. One weak link brings the whole thing down.
Exactly. And then there's the human element too, which we can't forget about.
Oh, right, like insider threats and stuff.
Yeah, so employees who have access to data, either intentionally misusing it or accidentally, it's a real concern.
Yeah, I mean, you're not just talking about malicious intent, right? It could just be someone accidentally clicking on a phishing link.
Or leaving their laptop unattended or something.
Right, exactly.
The point is, technology alone isn't enough. We have to factor in human behavior, both the good and the bad.
The wild card.
Exactly.
Now, what about the Internet of Medical Things?
Yep.
I've heard stories about pacemakers and insulin pumps getting hacked.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms.
It's pretty terrifying.
It is, because these devices are connected to networks, just like computers.
Oh, right.
So if they're not properly secured, they become entry points for hackers.
And the consequences could be really serious.
Life-threatening, even.
Wow.
We're not just talking about financial data here. We're talking about manipulating medical equipment.
Disrupting someone's care.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
Talking about the increasing amount of data in e-health and how vulnerable it is.
Right.
I think what's really sticking with me is the potential impact of all this.
Yeah, the scale of it is really what makes this such an important conversation.
So where do we go from here? I guess that's what we'll tackle in part two.
Exactly. We'll start looking at some solutions.
We'll see how AI can actually help protect these systems.
That's right. We'll be back with that soon.
All right, so in part one, things got a little intense.
Yeah, we went deep into those threats.
But now for the good stuff.
Right. Time for some solutions.
How can we actually fight back? That's what I want to know.
Well, the paper actually talks about how AI can be a real game changer in terms of security.
Okay, so how does that work? I mean, how can AI protect these systems?
One of the biggest things is threat detection.
Okay.
So imagine an AI system that's constantly scanning the network, looking for anything suspicious.
Like a digital detective 24/7.
Exactly, constantly on the lookout.
But how would an AI system even know what to look for? Like, how does it know what's a threat and what's not?
Right, and that's where machine learning comes in.
Okay.
There are two main approaches: supervised and unsupervised learning.
Okay, remind me how those work again.
So supervised learning is like you're training the AI model, right? You feed it tons of examples of known attacks.
So it learns to recognize the patterns.
Exactly, and then it can flag similar activity in real time.
So it's like if you're a security guard, you've got pictures of all the shoplifters.
Right.
And you're looking out for them.
That's a great analogy.
Makes sense.
But then there's unsupervised learning, which is even cooler.
Okay.
This time you don't give the AI specific examples of attacks.
So how does it learn?
It's trained to just look for anything out of the ordinary, anything that's unusual.
So like a security guard that can spot anyone acting suspiciously even if they've never seen them before.
That's it. And this is really valuable for detecting those brand new attacks, the ones we've never seen before.
Oh, wow. So the stuff that could really slip through the cracks.
Exactly. And these systems can analyze huge amounts of data, way more than a human could.
So they're catching things that we might miss.
Right. And it's not just about reacting to attacks. It's also about predicting them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So by analyzing those past attacks and seeing how things are changing, AI can help us anticipate what might happen next.
Wow. So it's like getting one step ahead of the bad guys.
Exactly. Being proactive.
That's pretty impressive.
It is. But okay, so we've spotted the threat, right? Now, how do we stop it?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Well, AI can also help with that. So once an attack is detected, these AI-powered systems can trigger countermeasures automatically.
So like what kind of countermeasures?
Well, imagine it detects a breach and it immediately isolates those infected devices.
Oh, wow. So it stops it from spreading.
Exactly. Containment is key, and it can do all this way faster than a human could.
So it's all about speed.
Speed is crucial in cybersecurity.
Makes sense?
These systems can even deploy decoys, to distract the attackers.
Oh,
Gives us more time to investigate and contain the threat.
It's like a digital immune system, automatically fighting off infections.
I like that analogy. Okay, but, let's be realistic. No system is perfect.
Right.
Couldn't these AI systems themselves be hacked?
Absolutely. It's a valid concern, and that's why the paper talks about secure model deployment and management.
So how do we protect the AI itself?
Think of it like protecting your crown jewels.
Yep.
Right? You need strong defenses, multiple layers of protection.
Okay, so what are some of those layers?
One is environment isolation. So you're using technology to create a secure environment where the AI operates.
So if something does happen, the damage is contained.
Right, like a sealed lab.
I got it.
Then you've got strict access control, so making sure only authorized personnel can touch these AI models.
Strong passwords and all that.
Yeah, but it's more than that. It's limiting access based on roles, making sure people can only see and do what they're supposed to.
Makes sense, because even an authorized user could accidentally cause problems.
Exactly. And then finally, continuous monitoring.
So we're always watching, making sure everything's okay. Right, like a security camera that never sleeps, looking for any signs of unusual activity or tampering.
Makes sense.
So by combining these strategies, environment isolation, access controls, and that constant monitoring,
We can keep those AI systems safe.
hopefully, yeah.
Okay, so we're securing the AI, but what about all that sensitive patient data? How do we make sure that's protected?
That's where privacy-preserving AI comes in.
We touched on this in part one, but I think it's worth another look.
Absolutely, because it's so important.
You mentioned federated learning.
Right, remember that.
I remember it sounded kind of complicated.
It is a bit, but basically it's a way for different institutions to train an AI model together,
Okay.
but they never actually share their raw data.
So, how does that work?
Imagine you've got several hospitals, right? Each with its own patient records.
Okay.
Instead of putting all that data together, which could be a privacy nightmare,
Right.
we use federated learning to train a shared model.
But the data never leaves the hospital.
Nope, only the updates to the model are shared, not the raw data itself.
Okay, so it's like each hospital is teaching the AI model a little piece of what it knows
And then the model combines all those pieces.
to get a bigger picture.
Exactly. And patient privacy is protected.
So it's kind of a win-win.
It is. It's pretty elegant.
Are there any downsides? I mean, it sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, it can be a little trickier to implement than traditional approaches.
Right.
And it takes a lot of coordination between those different institutions.
So it's not a silver bullet.
No, but it's a really promising approach, especially when we're talking about sensitive data.
What about those other techniques, like differential privacy and secure multi-party computation?
Those are also important tools in the privacy-preserving toolbox.
I remember differential privacy was about adding noise to the data,
Right, so you're masking those individual details?
but you can still analyze the overall trends.
Exactly. It's like blurring faces in a photo. You can still see what's happening, but you're protecting people's identities.
And secure multi-party computation. That one always sounded kind of mysterious.
It is a bit mind-bending, but basically it allows different parties to work together on data without actually seeing each other's information.
So, like, we could calculate our average salary without ever knowing each other's income.
Exactly. It's a way to get the results without revealing the individual pieces.
Okay, so it's like a magic trick.
Kind of, yeah. And all of these techniques are really important because they allow us to use AI for all this amazing stuff.
Like diagnosis and research and personalized medicine.
Right, and we can do it all while protecting patient privacy.
It seems like AI is not just creating new threats.
No.
It's also giving us the tools to combat those threats and protect privacy.
It is. It's a powerful tool.
And as we move towards, more connected healthcare,
Right.
the role of AI is just going to get bigger and bigger.
It is, but we can't forget about the human side of things.
Right. Back in part 1, we talked about how human error can create vulnerabilities. But I'm also thinking about human judgment. Can we really rely on AI to make all the decisions when it comes to our health and security?
That's a great question, and it leads us right into those ethical considerations surrounding AI.
Okay, so I guess that's where we're headed next.
In part 3, we'll dive into all of that.
We'll talk about how to make sure AI is used responsibly and ethically.
It's a crucial conversation to have.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive. In parts 1 and 2, we talked about the threats to e-health security, the potential of AI to help, but we also touched on how human error can create vulnerabilities.
Yeah, that's right.
But, I keep coming back to this question of, human judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Can we really just hand over all the decisions about our health and security to AI?
It's a big question, and it leads us right into the ethics of AI in healthcare. The paper does a good job of outlining some of the challenges here.
Okay, so what are we talking about specifically? What are some of the ethical dilemmas?
Well, one of the big ones is bias.
Okay.
AI models are trained on data, right?
Right.
And if that data reflects existing biases in the healthcare system,
Oh, I see.
the AI could actually make those biases worse.
So, if a model is trained on data that's mostly from, say, one particular demographic group,
Yeah.
it might not be as accurate for people from other backgrounds.
Exactly, and that could lead to some patients getting better care than others.
So we could actually end up with more inequality.
Potentially, yeah. We have to be really careful that AI is being used to make things fairer, not the other way around.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What else? What other ethical issues are out there?
Accountability is a big one.
Okay.
If an AI system makes a mistake, who's responsible?
Yeah, good question.
Is it the people who developed the algorithm?
Right.
The hospital that's using it? The doctor who's relying on it?
It's a tough one.
It really is, and there's no easy answer.
It's kind of like the self-driving car debate, right?
Exactly.
If there's an accident, who do you blame?
It's the same idea. As AI becomes more common in healthcare, we need to figure out who's liable if something goes wrong.
Clear guidelines and rules.
Right. A legal framework to make sure someone's accountable.
Now, what about transparency? Should patients even know if AI is being used in their care?
Oh, absolutely. Transparency is key.
Okay.
It builds trust, and it gives patients more control over their own healthcare.
So they have a right to know.
They should know if AI was used in their diagnosis or their treatment plan.
And how it works.
Right, how that system actually makes decisions.
So it's more than just protecting data.
Yeah.
It's about making sure patients understand how that data is being used.
Absolutely. They need to be informed, involved in the process.
It sounds like we need to be having a lot more conversations about this.
We do.
Not just between, the tech people,
Yeah.
but also with the doctors, the policymakers, the patients themselves.
The paper really stresses that, the need for ongoing dialogue and collaboration.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about the human side of things, too. We need ethics. We need good communication.
We need to be really thoughtful about how we use AI in healthcare.
Put those human values first.
Right, and make sure it's actually benefiting patients.
Well, I think this has been a really eye-opening deep dive.
I agree.
We started with those scary threats,
Mhm.
explored some amazing solutions, but then we ended up here with these really important ethical questions.
And we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more to consider.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, first of all, e-health security is everyone's responsibility.
Right, it's not just the tech people's problem.
It's about people, it's about processes, it's about being vigilant.
And it's not a one-time thing, it's something we have to keep working at,
Exactly.
adapting as the threats change.
Right, because the bad guys aren't going to stand still.
And second, AI is a really powerful tool.
It
It
is.
can do amazing things for security, but it also creates challenges.
We have to be smart about how we use it.
And ethical.
Right, have those conversations, make sure it's being used for good.
And finally, I hope everyone listening feels like they could be part of this.
Yeah.
The future of AI in healthcare is still being written.
It is, and we need everyone's voice in that conversation.
That's a great point. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive. It's been a really fascinating conversation.
It really has. I've enjoyed it.
And to everyone listening, thank you for taking the time to learn about this critical topic with us. Hopefully you've learned something new and you're ready to join that conversation about the future of e-health security. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.